Hello everyone, I'm Mohammad. I'm here to talk about Stoplight and how it can help you designing your APIs. But before we start, how many of you used Stoplight before? Yeah, we have Alex. Okay, so that makes my job easier. So just first to set the goals, what I will do is I will just introduce Stoplight to you, and we go through the Stoplight Studio UI to see how you can design your API through this platform. So let's do a recap first. So how do you design your API? Before we talk about the options we have, we need to remember that when you design your API, it's not just about how data exchange would work and how your models looks like, but also you need to care about the user's experience and your developers also experience. That's really important for your API excellence. And talking about the options, there's two options. You can do either a code-first approach, and in the code-first approach, it's where you start coding your API, you start coding your models, your interfaces, and implement your business directly. And you're getting you're experimenting with your API and enhancing it slowly. And at the end, you will end with some API and maybe a documentation, depending on how you did it. And in the other hand, you have the API-first approach. It's where you first design your API. Think about how consumers will consume it, how the models should look like, and start building contracts. And you share the contracts with your consumers. And even you use the contracts to maybe auto-generate the interfaces and your models and build your business on top of them. Now, what are the challenges or the problems you can face when you're building an API? Just a few examples. You can have a lack of documentation. You can have inconsistency between namings. Even if you use the same field, you can add an S at the end, and then here's a new field. You can also have a problem with documenting your error handling. You didn't handle that very well. Also, it's maybe harder for you to troubleshoot what's the problem with your API. API versioning, this is also another common issue, and how to track these different versions. And the monitoring side, where you want to check your API usage, for example. So let's now talk about Stoplight. So what is Stoplight? So Stoplight is a platform that helps you designing your APIs using the API-first approach. So it helps you building your contracts, make this easier for you, even if you have no knowledge of how to build an API contract. And I will be showing this to you soon. But first, let's just talk about a few features quickly. There's a lot of features. I cannot go through all of them. But the first obvious feature is you will get a very clear documentation. Also, it's an interactive tool, so you're using the UI to build your APIs. And also, there's interactivity between all developers who are working on the project. You can assign groups to different projects and who works on what and who have access to what. And also, it helps you generating even code samples. It can generate in many different languages, supporting many different libraries. So you get these code samples about how to consume your API, for example. And also, it has a really good feature, which is mocking. So immediately once you create your API, you can already run a mock server within the platform, and you can call the API and get mocked results. And you can control these mocked results fully. You have also the error handling and troubleshooting tips. So when you're creating your contract, at the same time, whenever you add anything, you will see troubleshooting tips about any warnings, any errors. So there's style guides running always while you're creating your contract. And that's the last feature, which is the style guides. So you can customize the style guides as you wish and enforce your rules within the organization across all development teams. So we can go to Stoplight now. So this is the your landing page if you create the workspace for your project. And in here they call this UI the workspace UI. So they have two UIs, the workspace UI and the studio UI. The workspace UI is where you see just the general view of your workspace and projects. And the studio UI is where you start creating your contracts, editing your APIs, and all of that. So if we go under the projects here, I don't have any project. I have a GitHub repository that has one API contract, which is the famous Pit Store API. And in Stoplight, you have two options. You can create your projects within Stoplight itself and version it there and keep it there. Or you can connect to your projects on GitHub, GitLab. There's all of these integrations, and that's what we will do right now. Is it big enough? Yes. So you can integrate here in the Git project, add from GitHub. Yes, so now it's connected to my GitHub account, and I need to give it the URL of this repository. And then we can add the project. Okay. So now I have my project, and if I click edit, okay, so this is the studio UI. This is where I see my API, and I can do the edit for anything, the API itself, the style guides, whatever you need. And if we click on the API that we imported, you will see that you have a lot of different views. So there's the form view. The form view is what makes it very easy for you. You have fields and you start filling. You don't really need to know how you really write a contract in a YAML file, for example. And you have the code view, and this is your YAML file. So this is the typical way of creating a contract. And you have a preview view. And in this view is the view of your API documentation. So if you share your API as a document, this is what the user will see. And also I have in here the warnings. You see I have 19 warnings. So for example, it says in the contact object, you should have a URL. This is a warning from the style guides that I have on, in this project. And we will come to these and how you can customize them. But yeah, of course, if you click, by the way, it takes you to the contact object where the issue is. And you can add an URL and write whatever you want. And it disappeared. So the style guides, as you see, it's running while you're developing. And in here, you have multiple tabs. So in the API tab, as you see, I see only the APIs within my folder structure. And in this other view, you have the separation of your API. So you have the, sorry.
Why does it conclude that it's missing a property? Is that somewhat defined somewhere else in the contract?
No, this is a style guide. So I clicked on the styles tab. You see in here I have a Stoplight style guides, which are the default ones. And under these, you have so many rules. And if you click on any rule, it gives you the explanation of it, and you can customize it. This is the default one. And I will come to this more in details later on of how you can customize it and change things. So going back to the API tab, you have your paths, and in the paths you see your URLs, your APIs, basically the endpoints. And you have also the models that you created for your APIs, and more things in here for the examples, the requests, response, and all of that. And in docs here in this tab, you can create some extra documentation which you can export if you want, or you can use it within your organization to make things more clear maybe for your developers. This is the full file structure. So in the first one, if you remember, I told you only see your APIs, but you can see in here really the models and more things. We will create some in here in a minute. And for my styles, this is what I mentioned now. This is where your style guides are. And we will try to customize some. So let's first try to create an API quickly. So in here, I will click that I need a new open API, and I'm using the YAML structure for that. And it's going to be an API about jokes. So going to the form view, I need to change in here the server. This is a public API, by the way. I want to change the server so we can later on call this API. So when I created the API, it created some default things that I don't want. So let me delete these paths and this model. So now let's imagine I want to call the API, but I want to put an error model. And this error model, let's say it's a common model across all of my APIs within my team. So how can I create a common error model? So for that, in here again, if you click on a new model, and let's call it error. Now this model, if it wasn't common, you will actually see it here under my API, under this folder. But since it is a common model, you can only see it within my file structure. And you can customize then the model as you want. So you can name the fields. So let's add a field. I want an error code, and it's a string. I want a message, and it's again a string. But just like in your contracts, if you were creating the YAML files by yourself, you would add some restrictions. All of this is doable through this UI. So in here, I said I want a string. You can have a format. It can be a date or whatever. And you can add all the limitations that you want. And going back, now I still don't have an endpoint. So I want a new endpoint. And this will be, let me see what they have, random joke. So yeah, this is the API here. Let me close the style guides. And in here you have the operation ID, which will represent your method in Java, for example, if you generate this interface. You can change that as easy as this. And then I want to add the response bodies for this a kind of request. So it's a get API. And if I click on responses, the first thing it adds to you the 200 response. And we can also add 500 for the errors, let's say. So in here I changed it. You can click the plus button, it adds a new one, and we can add the 200 again. So for the 500, we created our error model. So how to use it? You click Add Body. So this is the body of your response. And in here, you can create it right now from scratch, a whole object for this response. Or you can use a reference. And the reference will refer to the model we created a second ago. So this is the error model. And now it's using this model for the 500 response for this API. And I will just quickly create one more model which returns the right response, so we can try it when we mock. As you see, this is the response from the API. So we have an ID, a type, which is a string. The ID is a number. So let's change the ID here to a number. We have a punchline, which is a string. And what do we have? Setup. Okay, and then I go back to my endpoint, and we go to the 200 response, for example. Just you can quickly use the new model that we created. And now, if you click, let's first go to the styles for a second. So this is the default style guides that comes with Stoplight. You can also create your own. So if you click on this plus button, we can create a new rule. Let's say under contact, I want to always have a standby number. So let's call it the standby rule. And we can say you should add a standby under contact. So then you have a target. The target, these targets also are custom, so you can create your own target or use the ones that comes from Stoplight. What is a target? The target is what do you want to validate within your YAML file. So we want to validate the contact. So you put the target as the API contact. And then the property, which property inside that object you want to validate. So in here, let's call it standby number. And the function. The function is, okay, I reached this field. What do you want to validate? So I want to make sure it's there, so you can use truthy. But also these functions are, again, can be customized. You can create your own functions and do your own validations. So now if we go back to our API, let me make sure it's created. Yeah, it's because we have nothing in contact, which we will add quickly. Just a name here. So now the object is created, and now we have the problem. So it tells you now, according to your rules, standby number is not there. So you need to add it. And if we add it here in the same format we wrote, so now the problem was resolved. This is another problem. So one of the style guides from Stoplight says that you shouldn't add the field that I don't know about under contact. So you can fix this by customizing that rule. And in the rules, you can also use some famous style guides. So for example, you have the AWS API Gateway style guides. For the ones who work in aviation, there is the IATA standards also are there. So you have many different things you can apply already, but you need to have the pro version. I don't have that.
So this is free?
Yeah, I'm using the free version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because on the website, it just mentioned the paid version.
So when you're creating your project, they show you plans. They all cost money, but there is a small option on the bottom right. It says take it for free.
I checked the website and it was just a pro.
Yeah, so in the bottom, like a small.
It's hidden. It's hidden.
I'm assuming there's no self-host option.
No. But you lose a lot of features, of course, with the free version. It's definitely not for enterprise like this. Yeah, so back to our API. So I just want to show you one thing quickly, sorry. So in the preview for the endpoint that we created, you will see a button in here says try it. So in this button, not only it generates some code for you. This is the code of how you consume your API. It can be a shell script, or you can do Java using any library you want. And you can send a request, and it generated the response according to what we created now. You would see more buttons in here for the mocking if you had the Pro version. And for that, they have an open source actually tool that does this mocking. You can download it by yourself. It's open source, but also if you want it to be integrated within the platform, they did it for you, so to make things easy. So yeah, that's it. This is the introduction for Stoplight. You can play around with it more, and yeah, do you have any questions?